Okay, welcome to the June 29th meeting of the Nesco Community Plan Steering Subcommittee. And we have uh, Lynn Saxton, Lori Kovac, Tom Sipe, all here at this point, and myself, Rand Cook, the chair, as your host. So think Guy is aware of this and hope that he will join us. And Sarah Absher from the Community Development Department will be here as well. We're going to start the meeting. I guess we have to get approval for today's agenda. So if I could ask the subcommittee members for approval.
So
Uh,
moved.
Yep.
okay, approval by here's Guy. And does anyone have any conflicts of interest with today's agenda?
No
Guy, you
conflict.
got any conflicts?
No conflict.
Nope.
No.
Okay, Tom, no. All right, no conflicts indicated, so we will move forward with the agenda. Um, I don't have the printed agenda. Is there anything else I do before?
Actually,
We
just owning property and living here is a conflict of interest.
No, because you have an interest doesn't mean you have a conflict of interest.
Oh, I
Yeah, there you go. Thanks for that clarification. Leave it to our editor to know what the words mean. Okay.
Well,
Okay, I think
we
we
spent
can.
some time on that in the bylaws committee.
Oh, I
I
bet.
bet you did. Okay, well, we're going to start with the crib notes. Is that what you called them, Lynn? The things that Tom has noted that we have altered that are in red that we can go through and approve so that we can include them in the document and move forward.
Okay, so I think it would be useful for me to go ahead and put the document up on the screen as soon as it decides it wants to be there. Okay.
And Nancy Vandell, chair of the NCAC, has joined us.
Now we don't want her.
Thanks, Tom.
So just throw a tomato at your screen if you don't want Nancy to be here at the meeting today.
But every time she shows up, I work.
Well, we had you working before she even got here, so you can't blame that on her.
Yes, I
Thanks,
can.
Rand.
Okay, so let me do the share thing, assuming that they haven't hit it in a different place. Okay, looks like this would be the document. And people are seeing the document?
We are.
Okay, so I'm going to flip back and forth between the document and our crib list. So page 7, line 15. Now, I did add some things that Sarah sent me an hour or so ago. So some of the lines are going to get messed up, but basically they should be close. We should be able to figure it out. We're clever. We can figure it out. Okay. So this should be all right. I'm sorry for tearing your eyes out.
Did you say page 7?
That's 7. Oh, yes, 7. I was looking at the 15 and sorry. I'm really ready. Honest IR. Yeah, honest IR. Okay. Okay, so.
Close. We're getting close. There's 7.
Okay, so basically, I think we're okay with that. Oregon Parks and Recreation.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Nobody says no, so we're going to go ahead and accept.
Wait.
You had your chance, Guy. There's a 10-second opportunity.
Okay.
3 seconds, actually, but go ahead. Okay, if everybody's okay with this, I'll accept it. And Kinnick, and then I'm going to make a note that that's done over on the other thing. That's to be verified. So the next one.
So it wasn't verified yet?
No, she
Okay.
said she still hasn't, she's still working on getting clarity. It seems to be an anomaly that no one can identify. It seems-
I
Yeah,
sent everything. Hi, everybody. I don't know if you can see me. I'm here. I
Oh,
sent
there's
everything
Sarah.
off to Public Works to verify because that's not what my office does.
Okay,
So Randall and Lori were kind enough to send some photos of where the actual access is after we looked at all the plat maps during our last meeting, Lynn. So we pulled up several plat maps from the surveyor's office to see if we could figure it out, and we could not. So now I have that in everyone's queue to see if they can help us because what I could do in research is outside of the scope now of my abilities.
Yeah.
okay,
so
so
Sarah,
good note,
oh.
who's the Stuckey then? Says you?
what?
Who,
Say that.
Sarah, who are you working with?
Public Works, because
Public Works.
it's an access matter. It's not a land use or a planning matter.
So the maps that Alex Sifford had, those were not helpful because they're not county maps or,
I have no idea, Rand. I just sent
oh,
everything off because
I
it's
see. All
beyond
right.
my
Chris's.
it's beyond my area. So
Okay, got it.
now we're waiting to know more, and I don't know what their ETA will be on that, but I have sent that off asking them to help us.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
So I've got it here. You're still the Stuckey on that, Sarah, but I've got Public Works in parentheses. You're waiting on them.
I've asked them to help us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next one is, I had changed it into bullets and things, so people would review policy 16 and see if there's something you can throw rocks at, or waves for that matter.
Tom, I have my printout in front of me. What page are you on, please?
I'm sorry, that is page 17, line 8.
And you're going through off of the table that was part of the email.
Off the table, going
Excellent.
right down.
Thank you.
And when we get down to wetlands, the numbers will be off because I inserted some of your text. So, but we're still in concert with that.
Well, they all look essential, so it'd be a matter of whether somebody knows something more than these.
I think the old idea of having some kind of alert system has
Not here.
kind of been given up on.
Well, it's a Nixel, and I would assume it's a Nixel kind of a phone notification
Right.
thing.
So should we include some of the tsunami preparedness to support I don't know, is Nixle, remind me, is Nixle the counties?
It is. So that's through emergency management with Randy Thorpe.
I think
But that's an action. This is a policy that generalizes the focus, right?
well, I just think a policy could be to support any effort for early notification.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
Guy, I'm going to pull us back around to these are policies that go into conditional uses and legislative or zone change requests. So a policy about Nixle would not be relative to the land use program. But what you could do is have some sort of, like Randall said, some sort of desire statement that could go in there somewhere, but not in the policy.
Well, the first bullet kind of speaks to that in terms of a policy where we want to reduce loss of life, and you could interpret that as being the new notification system.
And that is taken, so that is a summary of those pieces within the Goal 7 hazards element and the tsunami overlay zone is what that policy 16 captures.
So
Okay.
how about when we look at the third bullet, I'm wondering how social and emotional disruptions are land use.
So, in Venezuela, they got 6 seconds notice. They had a notice system and they got 6 seconds, which is not enough time to get out of the way of a multi-story cement building. Um, and one of the things here that I think, and I don't know how we deal with this, Sarah, but the state has huge responsibility here,
Mhm.
huge, and receives all the federal funding that the state gets to distribute to counties, et cetera. And one of the things that I think unincorporated areas are at a disadvantage is hard for them is where do they get the annual update of what's being done for their safety for those citizens in unincorporated areas? And so I don't know whether that falls to the county or to the state, but there is, the we get funded for earthquakes from federal dollars based on how many people are here, how much risk, and the politics of the moment, which can be in the current environment the biggest problem you've got. But I do think it is really critical, having been part of the earthquake training of the state of Oregon for 3 years, that we have information given to us. And to me, if I could pick one thing for tsunamis, I'd be able to say it if I pick one thing would be for the county or someone to be responsible for informing us on an annual basis of the state of the art of tsunami preparedness because it changes over time. And you're
Mhm.
right that pinging thing has been set aside, but we should, in an age of computers, be linked into some kind of access to information. I know there's the 2-week preparedness standard. Um,
Mhm.
I know there's exit entry kind of or exit evacuation route standard, but it just seems kind of like a vacuum. And I'm not saying it's the county's job to hold our hand through this, but I really wonder what the state and county envision every year as they upgrade what we can do, that we are supposed to do. And I frequently think that, just the amount and impact of a tsunami on the coast is pretty much a be prepared for no one gets to you for 2 weeks at least if
Mhm.
you've gotten into the mountains successfully. So I just think something here needs to come from the state or from the county about this is how we understand these are worthwhile goals, et cetera, aspirational, but what's our link?
Sure. I think that's a great point, Lynn. And what I can do, so to me, where that comes in is connecting admin with Randy Thorpe. And
Right.
maybe that's a standing annual agenda item at a general meeting is for Randy or Randy and someone from Oregon Emergency Management or whomever it is.
Yep.
It could be them and it could include Chris Laity, right? And Sheriff Brown, because there's, as you know, that is a conglomerate of folks that get together to do that work. South
Yep.
Tillamook County EBC.
Yep.
So, Tom, that would not go in here.
Not
So
in
what
the policy, but in an aspirational though.
I would say I think it's something that we just put to Randy and admin for that annual meeting.
You don't want to put anything here.
I would not put
Um,
anything in there
Not a
unless
land use,
it's
just not
Why?
land use. It's not land
it's
use.
not land use. But
As,
it's still important, right? It's still a community concern. So I
It's
think,
community concern. That just dilutes what this does. All right, fine.
yeah, so
I don't like it.
yeah.
so I'm gonna put annual, so Lynn, I'm gonna call this annual reporting on tsunami preparedness and resiliency efforts.
Yep.
And Lynn, the difference between obviously a tsunami warning and an earthquake. I mean, we'll feel the earthquake before before the war, before any warning can come. But a tsunami, like the one in 64, that came out of Alaska. There was plenty of warning. So I think that's important to make sure we got the notifications down. And so in this list of bullets, I have a hard time justifying the third bullet, given that it has to do with ordinances. And I think in the fourth bullet, the only thing I can think of is it would encourage us to, in terms of land use, to think about the rezoning of certain, um, natural resource areas to relocate to kind of recover from a disaster caused by a tsunami. Now, that's the only way I can think. I'm not advocating one way or another. I'm just saying I'm trying to think of what the fourth bullet could include for it to be a land use thing.
It could be, that's a great question, Guy. It could be that. It could be there are provisions like the tsunami facilities improvement plans, which, as you know, that work talked about potential locations for evacuation structures that included Nescoin. It could include relocation of utilities or repair of utilities. Like if you think of how that would interface with Goal 18, think about like Sand Lake Road. Now that was caused by erosion, but if there were other instances where infrastructure needed to be repaired, where we would have the ability to do that work without goal exceptions in different areas, that's what this is really pointing to.
And I think I I haven't seen this year, so I don't know, but the earthquake and the tsunami preparedness go hand in glove at the state level. I don't know what the county, if the county separates them, but it is possible that there would be an earthquake and a tsunami within short order,
Sure.
or there just be, or we wouldn't feel an earthquake in Portland, but we would have the tsunami on the coast.
Exactly.
And in 64, I was at the beach and evacuated into the mountains in short order with a bunch of other Girl Scouts. and I mean, we literally ran up a mountain because the Alaska earthquake was supposed to pretty much take out most of what was, Camp Quanalong. So it didn't, and we had a great time up in the mountains. But anyway, I just think we need a connection, and I think that's to the event of that, and particularly as the state's information grows and understanding grows, as the technology and the art grows, it would the question of this one where it says support appropriate relocation of essential and critical facilities. Presumably, there'd be some thinking about that by the state in terms of what do these jurisdictions need where the subsidence is going to take out everything on the ground and we're going to assume some people get out, and where do they go, and where should our fire trucks be, where should our health facilities be, et cetera. But it's the link that I think is really critical to the community plan. And I don't know that it's not a criticism of anyone. I just don't know that the planning has gotten that far.
What I understood is that's not appropriate for the community plan, so that's kind of a dead issue.
Yeah.
That's what I
It could be
understood.
for in the appendix kind of thing we need to address.
It could be,
Okay, so
yeah, it could be in the appendix, but I would say I am writing that email right now so I can get that out, and I've copied the NCAC admin email on it so that we can get somebody connected with you guys, Randy connected with you guys for that. Because I agree, Lynn. I think that's an important thing.
okay, so
So
can
can I
we
ask,
circle back to this? Do
can I
we
ask
like this or not? Okay,
so here's a land use issue, Sarah, that as a result of what the Planning Commission did the other night, um,
What did they do?
well, let's walk this through because I'm not sure. I think it's relevant here, but Sarah may not think.
Understanding that the decision will not be final until the appeal period has ran its course, Guy.
So just the planning commission just recommend, well, it's a decision actually, it could be appealed. But so let's take the tsunami. Let's say that we have a tsunami and it destroys everything, let's say just a small area, everything in the village section that we call the village, everything west of Breakers and Hawk. So would that decision, what would it mean for because a tsunami, we wouldn't necessarily have the subsidence that Lynn is talking about in an earthquake that would occur out along our fault line. But let's say it's a tsunami again caused by Japan or Alaska or wherever. So we don't have the subsidence, but we have the tsunami and it destroys the homes all along the beach. As a land use, is there anything we in this community plan or whatever do preemptively to decide how we rebuild along the beach?
Oh,
That's a great question. And I would say that would still go back to building codes. It would go back to zoning and property rights, and it would go back to the codes that are in place.
So we would have the decision was to allow to rebuild to the same roughly the same square footage.
Mhm.
So in essence, along we would eliminate the height limit that we have along the beach. If every home was destroyed from a tsunami, we would allow every home. I'm extending out the decision by the planning commission, and I'm thinking, is there anything that we could do now as a community that would change that would put something in our land use ordinances in terms of R1 zone or whatever, within the coastal hazard overlay zone that would change that?
I don't understand the question. I'm completely lost.
So,
So go ahead, Sarah.
so I think what Guy is asking is there a way that we could now, understanding the risks in the future, preemptively amend the zoning ordinances that apply to Nescoin to anticipate having to rebuild various structures?
Okay, I got that part, but the side about height restrictions being eliminated, I did not understand how that connected to the rest of that
Well,
statement.
the short of it is that because of the new uh, uh, FEMA and other uh, new flood maps that were done in 2018, it's going to homes that are along the beach are now, let's say, if you had to rebuild a home along the beach and you're within a certain velocity zone, let's say a V32, I can't remember the numbers
Right.
anymore.
And that's driven by FEMA, Guy,
FEMA,
right?
that's why I said new FEMA rules,
It's right. It's not just because
not the
there's a
county.
tsunami, it's a
Right,
FEMA requirement.
right. So if your home is destroyed and you're along the beach, pretty much almost everybody. Now, there's some places that are elevated high enough they wouldn't do this, but many homes, you have to build above. And when the particular case we dealt with was how many feet up? 8?
It
Up,
depends. It depends on the elevation of the
right,
property and it depends on the elevation FEMA has established for that property. So it could be different. That
right,
elevation requirement could look very different property by property.
right.
but two questions. One is in Alaska after the earthquake, having moved to Alaska shortly after the earthquake happened, there was no building on the area for like 8 or 10 years. I can't remember specifics. It was over 8 years. If your house went down, that there was nothing you could do for at least 8 years because of the fear and the earthquake cycle and the tsunami cycle. So that's a factor in earthquakes. I don't know how it applies to Nesquin.
I say, who made that decision, Lynn? Because it
The
probably
FEMA
FEMA.
and
It
the
wouldn't be
state, and
us.
there was enough litigation to pave a small town over the whole
Sure.
discussion because people's houses literally slid into Cook Inlet. Did the
Mhm.
did the planning commission approve the height increase on that building on the breakers? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, yes,
They didn't, they did approve going up.
yes.
So one of the questions I have, just side note for Sarah, in the multifamily housing strategy, the one consistent message when we were developing those plans was don't mess with your height limitation because it's going to really adversely affect when it pairs up with that the new statute on multi housing on single lots. So what happens with that?
So we were required under state law to bump up the minimum or the maximum height on oceanfront lots to 25 feet to meet model code. So
Right,
that's what we did.
right,
In terms of what Guy is talking about, this was a structure that was destroyed by an act of God that in order to rebuild has to comply with FEMA elevation requirements. There's no if, ands, or buts to that. And so what happened was that the owners requested a variance to exceed the height limit so that they could rebuild to the 1,200 square feet that they had initially. So it wasn't the variance. If you're looking at a vacant lot, Lynn, where someone is getting ready to build, there's like you have to elevate and they may only get one story to stay
right.
within that 25 feet. But in terms of what this variance was about, it was recovery of a property right that existed or preservation of a property right that existed for that unit that others in the vicinity enjoy.
Got it. So the county's preempted by the FEMA standard.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And sometimes they're off this
And
one.
Guy, I just want to make sure as we deliberate that decision, understanding it's in appeal, the decision, the notice has not gone out yet. And this is a public meeting. So as you as a planning commission member and me as the planning director, I just
We
want
won't
to make
talk
sure
about
we're
anymore,
very thoughtful in
but
our
that's fine.
conversation.
I get that. I won't follow that up. But so in general, and I guess we can wait on this. And as I, as a public record, I just think this is an issue that is coast-wide in Oregon.
Mhm.
I don't think it's something unique to Nescoin, but
I agree.
and there's probably nothing here. We can look in the future if different communities could take different action on this. I'm going to guess that we probably won't be able to because I'm going to guess DLCD is going to come in and say, here's the standard. But it's something because of this particular tsunami preparedness
Mhm.
and the land use issues that may bring about. That's one of them. What do you do on the rebuild?
Right.
And right now, I think we just have to wait to see how things play out. But I think it's an issue for the future, not just for Nescoin, but for other communities.
Yeah.
Totally.
So Tom, you're wanting anxious for us to move on, but we just need to take this whole
Yeah.
section out. Is that what we're saying?
So if I could jump in real quick. So just to kind of reset the parameters on this, Guy is right. We have been working with Sea Grant, DLCD, and others for several years on this topic of rebuild, relocation, etc. There will eventually be legislation that will go through LCDC and others, and that will be the time once we have that where we will do any necessary ordinance amendments that may trigger or community plan and comprehensive plan amendments for that consistency. But until that time comes, we would not put anything else in here today in terms of the community plan itself.
Right, I get that. And I guess more is just to recognize that there's more to come here. And
Absolutely.
so, and getting back to the bullet list we have, um, Sarah, bullet number 3, are you okay with that as a land use?
I am. So, Guy, I took a lot of that straight out of the tsunami hazards overlay zone and the goal 7 element
Okay,
for consistency. So we've already done.
we've already approved it.
You've already approved it. You've already done this work. And I
Why didn't I
amended it.
object then? No, I'm going.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
so can we say yes to this or no?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
I,
yes.
s-
Brian?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm looking. Okay, fair enough. So I will now accept that. And here is the discussion. Now we're going on to a discussion point. And take it away, Sarah.
Okay. So I was working through policy 18, which I'm going to expand. I will have that to Tom before our next meeting. The reason why is because you have both Goal 5 protected wetlands in the community, and you have mapped wetlands that are not Goal 5 protected, but still fall under the freshwater wetland overlay zone. And instead of focusing on one category of wetlands in the community plan, I think we need to have a policy that captures all of them, regardless of their status or designation, with the recognition of the goal 5. And I've got to tie it back to the goal 17 element, which is shorelands, because some of those wetlands also fall in the protected shoreland element of the golf course as it traverses to the north. So I am still working on that piece, but I wanted to call out in the meeting today that the focus should not just be goal 5 protected wetlands. You can get fill removal permits essentially for development activities in wetlands that are not goal 5 protected. If Nescoin wanted to go through a process to inventory all wetlands within the goal 5 protection status, that would require significant work and property owner cooperation. As you know, there's areas like South Beach. We have a 4-acre parcel where a good part of that has wetlands on it, but they are not goal 5 protected, and that property is zoned for residential development. So just making sure we are accurate in our statements. I am going to add both of those pieces to that section and then clarify in the policies what the policy should look like in terms of what's protected and what technically is not.
Sarah, I didn't quite follow what you said about if we wanted, is it a decision to have our wetlands to have DSL or somebody to go back and take a look and redelineate our wetlands and re-rate them? I mean,
not through this process. It would be, Guy, we'd have to do a legislative text amendment process to add protections to all wetlands in Nescoin, like you would a quarry, right? So when we do that aggregate protection and you do that EC analysis, what I'm saying is it needs to be recognized in the community plan that not all wetlands are protected. And so calling out both categories and those limitations, because the policies can't conflict with what we have inventoried in the comprehensive plan with the assumption that any wetland is protected, because that's not true. And then with that, the cluster the counted as developable land for cluster development, that's all taken care of in the land division ordinance. So I'm actually going to remove that. Because if you recall in a cluster subdivision formula, it actually talks about taking natural features out. So that's just redundant and moot.
So I added goal 17 because you mentioned that as an
Yep.
implementation. Is that correct?
Yes, there's a cross reference there.
Okay. Okay, more later. Anything more on that topic?
Wait and see. Okay.
Okay. So page 19, line 2, which is what now? Okay, shorelines develop.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep. And what you'll see probably, Tom, and you can put these paragraphs where you want, but the explanatory paragraph before the policy, there will probably be a couple. We'll probably put one or two above policy 18, and then a third one between policy 18 and 19.
And 18 and 19 are the only two so far?
Yeah.
Okay. I think there may be other ones. Anyone, we need to have explanatory or at least introductory text on each of the policies? Okay,
Mhm.
I'll make sure we cover that.
That's
Okay. What about policy 19?
policy 20.
Well, we haven't said yes on 19.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I'm glad we call it delicate. Yeah.
Okay,
It's okay with me, Lori.
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Do I have consensus?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, why is that policy? Oh, I don't understand why I love Word. Anyway, this, any comments on the erosion control?
Is it just
Introductory text.
the only thing I kind of that we strongly support? uh, I don't know. It's like support for a county regulation has gradients. Would we like, we could like sort of support, kind of support, warmly support?
So should
No,
it just be support?
I think it's just support. We support the county. Yes.
And then, Tom, I had where it says ground disturbing activities at, I would put the time of construction. And other land development activities within and immediately adjacent to the Nescoin community boundary.
I'm not quite sure where you want that, and isn't that implicit in this being an Eskin community plan?
Well, there's
Oh, you changed it. Okay, never mind. That's not what I'm reading.
The only thing I changed was add that phrase that you just asked for.
Oh, I have other land development sites within. So no, I like what you wrote.
Okay, wouldn't anybody not like that?
Good.
Okay. Erosion control, we'll say that's done. And over here, accept that. Policy 21, natural resources.
It has
Yeah,
the same strongly supports, so
yeah, just say support.
You don't
Yeah.
want strongly?
No.
Okay, I will delete that. And you want strongly moved over here too?
yep.
Okay.
I probably did this, Tom, in the initial language that I sent to you. So I apologize, but I would say to preserve and protect line 2 in the policy, natural resources in and around our community. I would get rid of the our in front of natural because you have our, and I probably did that. So my apologies on that. Oh, nope. To
Nope.
preserve and protect. Just get rid of,
Okay.
just delete nat R. If you can. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay, I see. I wasn't reading the whole thing. I don't know why that's flagging that. Anyway. Anybody not completely unhappy with this?
I would take off
Yep.
the word habitats at the end of the paragraph. You got two habitats. So and habitats of fish and wildlife. I would just say actually, and fish and wildlife habitat. I'd like to fit the word ecosystem services in there, but it just gets complicated.
You got a space missing between protect and in on the last sentence here.
I think we should do that thing that they often used to do and no longer do, of just putting funny little things all through the document, like quotes from Alice in Wonderland and stuff, to determine if people actually read
Actually
it.
read the
Jokes, little humor.
Well,
Just
if you're gonna unleash humor, Tom could do it, but you
yeah.
better look out for what you wish for. So yeah, Tom, what's on line 9 there?
That is an N. I have no idea why that's there.
Thank you. Wasn't sure that was an in, but now it's confirmed.
Okay. And
So we're
everybody complete?
accepting policy 21?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We are making progress slowly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom, there's a typo. You need a space between habitats and implementation.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's why it was. Interesting. Okay. That's why I was complaining. I don't know why, what happened. Anyway, uh, okay, so, and next. Don't know why that's there. Okay, so lighting and environment.
Oh, boy.
Okay, we have a few changes here. These are the dark sky edits, I think. Yes.
Mhm.
I think it's really clear and it's great to put it in there because I think there are some people who don't like this approach, and I think being forthright about the desire to have it will get those comments out on the table and allow us to resolve it.
Okay, I've just made it so it's looks like it's accepted, so you can
Mhm.
read it a little bit easier.
So part of it, reworking this section, when I emailed it to Tom, I took out the specifications for standards because those will be determined through that ordinance process.
Right.
So, and I didn't want something to conflict. So it was better to leave this more general, and then the implementing development standards will be supported by this policy.
Yep. I think it's fine.
Where is that ordinance in the process?
As soon as I get done with this adoption and Oceanside, which
Okay.
I'm almost ready to go to hearing, actually.
Oh,
Good.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's I'm on the home stretch and I'm almost got Nia Connie fix it codes done too. So as soon as I get
Dynamite.
the last one to like in the hopper to hearing, it's lighting.
Great.
So not too far.
Dynamite. Good to
Okay,
hear.
so everybody happy with this?
Yep.
Yes. Could I
Nancy, go ahead.
make a
Sorry.
quick, would it be possible to consider taking out extreme in front of light pollution? I'm not sure it adds anything, and it might be hard to judge what's extreme.
It's a good point.
Yep.
Give me a line.
18.
Thank you.
Okay.
We could point to some extreme light pollution things as an example, Nancy.
The one that shines in your window, guy?
The one that shines in my window at night.
Oh, I'm not saying that there's not extreme light pollution. I'm just saying it may be a little harder to judge what's extreme versus just what general light pollution is. It's
Not difficult for me to figure it out.
Well, I
okay.
can point.
I mean, keep it in if
Poor
you want
guy.
to.
I have a standard. It could be anything that extreme light pollution, the only level of light pollution required in dark skies is enough to see the bear before they're 2 feet in front of you.
I don't know. Bears can run at 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, but they're not more than 5 feet off the ground. That's the problem.
Yeah, they're just a
Okay.
little hard to see in my experience, and yeah, as
Okay.
cute as they are, they're not
Yes,
friendly.
approve.
Okay. Approved. Okay. Done. And let me. I've got to catch up with my running list, so I don't have to do this
Oh,
and delay the publication by 2 weeks. Okay. So next. Transportation. Yeah, transportation. Okay, that is next.
That's right, and that's where we stopped.
We have more things we can do, but that's where we stopped last time.
Mhm.
Oh, I actually had something. I don't know if this is the time to bring it up, but under safety goals on page 23, line 30, which is above where we are right now, um, it said potential of natural disasters impacting Nesquin. It listed earthquakes, tsunamis, flooding, and landslides. And I'd like to see wildfire in there because it seems like we were threatened by wildfire a few years ago, and it could be in our future.
Yep.
Good catch.
Good catch. I think that's spot on.
With that, actually, can you go up just a second, Tom? Because when you're looking at implementation, so where this all is contained to, like the data and information that goes with risk assessment and prioritization, is the county's multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. So the South Tillamook County Emergency Volunteer Corps was a part of that. We had a community representative. That might be something that you want to weave into the implementation piece, is to reference that document. FEMA requires that we update it every 5 years, and it is a land use, like it's a land use related document. I actually lead the updates every 5 years. And then once I get it adopted, it goes to Randy Thorpe. But the fire district, Nescowan Water District participated this year. And I think that was the first for them. So that might be a good document to reference here.
Can you send me that reference? Because I didn't get all of that.
Yep. I'll just put it in the chat.
Okay. Assuming I can find the chat.
Mhm. And we actually assess and rank risk and probability of disaster. Like we prioritize them in terms of preparedness and response. And Randy has to have this document because when he goes to apply for grants or disaster funding relief, this is the document that everyone points to.
And part of what I think, Sarah, that's going to happen is with the ability of AI to cut across FEMA's regs and state regs and local regs and environmental groups assessments and EISs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, there's going to be like a shift. And I think it's going to probably end up making more work for everyone, but there will be a shift probably in the next 2 years where this information, which has all been disaggregated, is aggregated correctly or incorrectly. And it could be a really great thing. It could be a debacle. I don't know which it will be, but it will be a big, big change because all of this information has always been in everyone's disaggregated computers, and the federal stuff and the state stuff will get aggregated.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. We actually we see that happening actually with this document because there are reviewers from FEMA that they have to bless this document every 5 years before I even take it anywhere for adoption.
Wow.
So it's actually audited and our work is audited.
I've got to type it out because Zoom will not allow me to copy out of the chat.
Oh, no.
That,
Yeah. I just think it would be, Tom, a good document to reference, especially because there
I'm
is
not arguing that. I'm just
Yeah.
arguing getting
Yeah.
that text over there.
just doesn't have to be anything fancy. But if you ever want to read it, it's like 400 and some pages with appendices, and it's got the Nesco maps in there and all the hazard maps and all the good stuff.
The worst natural disaster in my 20 some years here was the winter storm of 2007, where
Yeah.
areas of Nescoin lost power for up to 8 days. We had trees blocking roads in all directions. We had no communication because our communication towers were down. Um, we were dependent on the 1 hour report from the sheriff over whatever radio that's called. uh, so
Yeah.
we don't, in terms of living on the coast, that's one of the probably in terms of threats, winter storms really isolate our community, and they have. So I don't know how we just
So that's when in the ranking guy, when we've done this work, the subsequent updates following that storm, because it was 07, it was 08. There was another one, what was it, 2020, 2021? Ice storms became a thing. And we actually, this last round, actually called out droughts as well. And algal blooms, because there has been some shifts in how we have inventoried and ranked and recognized hazards.
And I think AI is going to, someone in the commercial aspect of AI is just going to capture, there's going to be a map of the United States with the worst places to live in terms of risk. I bet within a year that is produced like Zillow for houses. Because it's gotten to the point where it's, there's so many conflicting data sources, but it's getting more and more complicated. So I think, I think we're going to see it. Nescoin may make the map. I don't know.
So Lori's pointing out, so Lori is saying Tillamook County multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan, not management.
Correct. Yeah, there's no management in there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I do say that I lived pretty well during that time of no power, no communication.
That's because you came over to our house.
Exactly.
Nice.
Smart guy. Work smarter, not harder. That's what that is.
Wonderful company and wonderful food and wonderful drink for many days.
Don't advertise it too seriously here.
Okay, are we done with this?
I think so.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, that wasn't on the list, but we'll get it done anyway.
Very good.
Now back to transportation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll make this a little larger. There we go.
Oh yeah. Okay. So we've got the policy done, right? So we got to still look at that, Tom, right? And say if we all agree with the language on there. Okay. Then I'll wait and
I have a
start
question.
lining
Sorry.
after we're done.
I have a question about that. I'm wondering if what we have said there makes it clear that we want to maintain our existing pedestrian pathways and we want to create new ones. And I'm not sure if the word pedestrian is right or if it's just non-vehicular or if multimodal, but I want to make sure that we have the priority stated that is importantness to for us for any existing pedestrian pathways that we have, that we maintain them and that we create new ones when possible.
The implication of the word advance is we start from here and go forward. So I'd say that's inclusive, just editorially.
Okay,
I just wanted to make sure it says like including directional signage and monitoring for speed limits and installing control facilities. Those are important to me, but they're minor in relationship to like making new ones and making sure we protect the ones that we have. Um, I don't have specific words here. I'm just wanting to make sure that everyone else thinks that that includes
I do.
what. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, anybody hate this?
That's a new standard, Tom. No, I don't. No, I don't hate it. It's fine.
Okay. Okay, then we go into areas we haven't done before. I don't know why I'm gonna accept that. I don't know why that's there. Okay, we have a few things pending. Don't think we have anything more on that.
For me, I would say I'm in the hardest part of this, especially working through trying to figure out how to give you some language that's appropriate for the community plan for policies that does not overextend into public works where we're making policies that may not be feasible or practical or align with AASHTO standards. Does that make sense? I'll use signage again as the example just of you just can't stick signs anywhere.
Yep.
So understanding what's desired and including speed control structures.
Okay, so where are we here? Am I gone too far or what?
No, we're right there. You're in the right spot.
Okay,
I just like the more signage for non-vehicle uses, that's going to come out of that multimodal transportation system plan update, including any possibility of speed control structures. So I'm wondering, so if I can't get a policy that I think will be appropriate within the limitations of this community plan, the other option would be to take the points of 18 and 20 and create a second paragraph above the transportation policy to express the desire for more non-vehicular use signage, speed control structures, etc., and reference the work that's being done now on the transportation system plan updates.
So the need for this is driven so what is the need? What are we missing and where are we missing it on this? I'm fine with it as it's currently written, but I'm also not, I don't have a sense that we're missing signs other than at the juncture of the turnoff from 101. But are there specific areas that if we could cite an example, would that help here? And I don't know what that example would be.
Yeah.
what you're talking about, the non-vehicle uses?
Yeah, the non-vehicle uses and
The bike lanes, if you wanted
Yeah.
to flag bike lanes, for instance, that would be an example.
I think so I will tell you what I'm trying to do is figure out how to take the advocacy and the concerns expressed for enhanced signage, speed control structures. I think in some areas that includes reducing speed limits, all of the things that the community desires that are actually outside the scope of this document,
Right.
but recognize that they are a desire of the community and make a statement to try to weave those desires into policy 27. But I just can't, in the iterations of trying to create new policies on those things, they're outside of the scope of land use. It's ASHTO, it's ODOT. There's new legislation, if I understand correctly, that may give the local road authority more discretion on some areas for speed limits, but I know enough about that just to be dangerous, quite frankly. So to me, I don't know, I'm struggling with writing policies for things that are so technically driven by other factors and rules. You're not going to see them in a land use application or in a zone change or in a text amendment.
Right.
So
Which is what all these policies.
Are you saying this is not a policy then?
It would not be, Tom, I don't know how to make them policies,
Okay.
but
It wasn't my question. Is this not a policy then?
I could see the whole thing with, as we have written, going to an appendix of recommendations or whatever.
Let's
Sure.
not make the document more complicated than it already is.
Well, that's why I'm saying I'd pull it. That makes it less complicated. Because I agree with Sarah, it's not, the only thing I can think of in terms of transportation issues as land use is how when we approve, what the parking is for any individual lot. And what you in new development, what you have to have, or the set, what you can do in the setbacks from the road. As we know that there are plenty of places, at least I know in the village area, where people have encroached their development into the setbacks to protect their, people, what's happening in front of their house or whatever. And it's not policed in any way, but it happens. So that's the only thing I can think of in terms of, keeping the roads open for traffic, given that we have skinny streets. And then when people encroach on those streets with their development, that's about the only thing I can think
But
of.
Guy, you're not talking about structural development. What you're talking about is other types of development into the road right of way, which is under the jurisdiction of public works, right? Because any structural encroachments would require a variance. But
Well,
even
they've got-
still, those criteria do not point back to the community plan policies.
So when people put fences and other kinds of rock walls and things out into the, you know, into the air.
Road right of way, it's
Right
under
of way.
public works.
So
That's my
that's
point.
not a land use issue about where they would
That's right.
put their things out.
And you
in
can,
terms of parking,
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of anything when you approve a new home, is there anything about, I know we have a limitation on the driveway size off the
Mhm.
street.
Only in Nescoin though, right? That's unique to, so the rest of the parking standards contained in the ordinance apply everywhere.
And it impacts the parking in front of the house, impacts the transportation. I'm stretching here, trying to think of.
Right, but that's where, no, you're right. That's an appropriate thought, but that goes back to a road approach permit, which again, all of that transportation, distance between approaches, line of sight, how cars are backing in and out, that's all addressed through Public Works and that review.
Yeah.
Lori?
It's not DCD.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just thinking with this discussion, there's a lot that we have in the document that's kind of aspirational and doesn't have a specific policy about it, doesn't specifically reflect a goal. And I'm wondering if some of the things that Sarah's saying don't fit into the land use ordinance concept that we need to, would it be appropriate to put it in a different place where we're allowed to be more aspirational
Kick it
and
out.
not, because I think the things that are in this list are actually things that people do talk about wanting, but I understand that it's a public works or an ODOT or a different department than land use, but still, I think when the public looks at this document, they aren't as much focused on what land use can take care of, but they're thinking of the big picture. So if we could include it somewhere, not as a policy, I'd like to see it there personally, if we can make it work.
Yeah, that's why I think the appendix area where we put those kinds of things. It don't have
Let's look
anything
at
to do-
appendices.
Yeah.
Right now we have abbreviations. Sorry. We have abbreviations. We have the process that we're going through in making this.
Yeah.
We have community history, which used to be in the body of the document and is now
Right.
relegated to the and the community boundary, so we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The area of interest, so we also know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And this was informational in Esquin's neighborhoods, and the reiteration of where the zoning is. We were going to have something to the overlay. You want Appendix I? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think we've
And
talked.
no one will ever see that.
Well,
I
we
go
can,
along I go with Lori on this. I think that's what people. I mean, the land use stuff.
You
Have
got
to
to
do.
decide what
That's required.
are we fruit salad or are we apples here?
No, I think the land use stuff is required. It's what's going to be focused on by the county, but and which will be is part of the comp plan. I think there should be an appendix I or whatever
Oh,
that
excuse
has
me, there is an I. That's the
recommendations.
changes. I guess we're going for J then, huh?
Let's see, what's I? You went too quickly.
I is what you wanted, which was the results of the last request, the changes to the ordinances.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then I think, I mean, there are recommendations, and transportation's one of them. And we have other things that we've talked about that are not land use, don't relate to all.
Okay, is that generally what people want? Yes, no?
I think it's important. I think that we want to be able to refer to things in this plan, and aspirational things have a place in the community's mind that people want to see documented, rather than saying, well, they didn't fit this category, so they're gone, even though you said you wanted it. But
Yeah. I think based on the comments that we've gotten so far, if there's nothing said about these issues, people will be like, well, did you listen to me? This was important. I said it at the meetings. Where is it? You know? And we could put in there that this is in an appendix because it's not part technically of land use planning, but was brought up by the community and will be dealt with in the future by the Public Works Department or something like that.
Or the CAC. It's kind of a.
Or yeah.
Nancy?
Yeah, I thought that I realize I haven't really been part of the committee at all, but I thought in here that we had a place, if it wasn't part of the policy, it could be elsewhere, where community aspirations that were outside of strictly land use could be put in. I thought we were already doing that. Am I mistaken?
I thought we were too. I guess I'm,
Yeah, we
Me
have
too.
been doing that, which is why I was confused by the aspirations that I tried to add a little earlier. So you tell me what you want and I'll give it to you.
We want
So,
aspirations, and if they don't fit in the land use section, we want a section that they could live comfortably.
but like Tom, where you were putting it though in the main plan that wasn't part of the policy, correct?
That has been true. And
And
if
so
we
we could
need,
still do that, right?
well, do what?
Be
Have it
able to
in
put
line?
in some of the aspirational things that, like what Lori was just talking about for transportation, they could be still in there, correct?
Well,
Just not in the
okay,
policy
we need
itself.
to decide what in there means. You mean
Sorry.
in there in line, or do you mean it
Yeah.
kicked back
So
to a,
outside of the box that says policy,
So
some of the text that's outside
right?
of that box, but in that category. I could be wrong, and I don't know really what I'm talking about, but I thought that was what we were doing in other parts of the plan.
We have been doing that. Apparently that is not what we need to be doing.
So anticipating the public safety, I saw the comments about Tom and fireworks on the spreadsheet, the table for today.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think a lot of this stuff, because Nancy, the document itself with the policies, that is the implementing piece. That is when I look at a conditional use, when I look at a zone change or a legislative text amendment, which aligns with the purpose of this document as a land use planning document. But if you go with the appendices approach for some of the stuff, like what Lori's talking about, I know there are other matters of community importance. And because we will not be able to put them in as policies, you could have a transportation and a public safety piece in the appendices.
Right. I just thought when we had talked before, Sarah, that you had said as long as it's not in the policy box, it could still be in the plan, just not in the policy box. Am I mistaken?
It depends on what it is. So
Ah,
some things that still fits, some things like fireworks, it's not part of any implementing land use ordinance or comp plan. So just recognizing, I think Lori's right. I think if there's a way where, because I'm trying to do that too and figure out where can we put in things that are important to the community so they feel heard. Because I agree where I am concerned that without their understanding of what the intent and purposes of this document, they may not feel heard. And we don't want that either. So it's trying to find that balance.
I'm also
so
concerned when it comes to the transportation that even though I know there's a countywide committee for the unincorporated areas, I would have a hard time believing that they have the capacity to do the outreach and the community involvement for the transportation issues in a deeper way than we're trying to involve community, like to get people to come to a whole different set of meetings for public works when there's such a limited amount of things that it seems like public works has the money or the budget or the manpower to actually implement. So this might be the best place to actually hear what people have to say about transportation, even though technically it's not the right place. If you really want community attention, I think.
well, that's not what the purpose of the document is in total, as I understand it now.
Not for the county's use, but for our community's use as an expression of the community. It could be helpful in saying it's in the plan that this community has stated this, and it might help in uh, not only getting some grants, but also in letting people know they share that idea. So you can, even though it's in the appendix, not in the main body, it still might be helpful for people to go, Yeah, we said that. We wanted that. Now let's do something about it on our own because we're more and more between the NCAC and the NCA finding ways to get stuff done with with the collaboration of the county, but not strictly through the county and all its policies.
Okay,
So
so let
it'd
me
be
let me
nice to have a
suggest
place where that stuff resides.
what I've already got it set aside for
Okay,
that.
thank you.
What we need to do is add those things, and I would propose that we make that Appendix A, so at least people have a chance to see it.
Ah, very good, Tom. That's
Okay,
an editor's note is noted.
okay, so then I will need to know what to move. Now, I can make a judgment on what to move, or you can tell me. What do you want?
Well, I think that might require a specific review of the document by all of us in order to identify those things.
Okay,
But it may be Sarah is our editor who says, yeah, that belongs there. Oh, that one doesn't, but you could put it in the other. So I'm not sure how to do that besides just going through it as an individual and saying this doesn't seem like a policy. It seems like a good idea.
Well, did Sarah just say it had to do with things that have to do with transportation and public safety? Weren't those the two things you said weren't part of land use? Sarah?
So those two umbrella topics, we can move to the appendices, but it depends on also what you want to say and what you want to talk about.
Right.
So the speed reduction measures, the signage for transportation, that would go into that appendices because that's outside of the scope of our role and quite frankly, our authority. We can't tell Public Works what to do, right? In terms of an extended sheriff's district, that would be something else that would go in that appendices,
okay. So what
right?
about policy 27?
I think policy 27 stays. And in fact, you could reference those additional, how do I say this? To me, this is the blanket policy that ties the transportation planning with the land use ordinance.
Policy
Okay.
27, right?
Policy 27.
Right. So that
Right.
stays.
So that stays
Yeah.
because when I have to do updates to the comprehensive plan transportation element, one of the things that I will do is in my analysis is also point back to all of the community plans, right? Because that work is unincorporated community focused. I'm going to go back to all of these plans and point to these policies because I have to write legal findings that say that those amendments to the comp plan are consistent with relevant community plan policies.
Got it?
Does that make sense to everybody? You guys tracking that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So I just copied those things down to the aspirations, and obviously it'll need some organization. And I'm going to accept these deletions.
So I guess I have a couple more questions if I could. So public safety could tie back to land use though, right, Sarah? I mean, if there's something that would be a violation, say being able to have access for emergency vehicles, for example, wouldn't that relate back to land use in terms of setting, property limits and in terms of easements or making sure that it's still safe for vehicles to get through? I mean, aren't there aspects of public safety like transportation that might be relevant to the plan?
So in land divisions, Nancy, so a new subdivision or a partition, those are covered in the land division ordinance referencing AASHTO standards, and it is the county engineer that reviews and approves those essentially, and that is the public works director. So because it still goes back, it points back to the road authority. The only time in the land use ordinance for existing lots or parcels where it references access is for structures in forest zones, and that is for wildfire mitigation risk. And you have to have a letter from the Department of Forestry confirming fire access because you're outside of a district or a service area. So anything like if there's a vehicle that's blocking an emergency access, that's not land use planning. That's the fire
Right.
department and the road authority.
Right. So
Okay.
if we do our homework and go through and find things, we can kind of run them by Sarah to next
Mhm.
meet, or I guess we could email them to her and say,
Yeah.
these these seem like they might be aspirational and outside of the plan. Should they go in appendix or do they,
Mhm.
you know? Okay, so there's
Right.
some homework.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, so how it's the part, Nancy, that is presumed with land use is your rights of way are required for new development to be 50 feet. You may not have an improved travel surface width, but there's road grade standards, and that's all through public works, right? Because you can't have your roads too steep that a fire truck can't get up. You are not required to have public safety, like a service provider letter from the sheriff's office when you go to build, but we do require them from the fire department. And that's through building codes, right? Because they're the ones that have to verify access. It could necessitate a different driveway design. It could increase your insurance. You might have to get a fire suppression system in your house. So all of those things actually are outside of the land use piece. They fall under building codes or the road authority.
And building codes aren't considered land use.
No, totally separate bucket. They work together, but they're separate. They're equal but separate. So all the building codes come from the state building codes division, right?
Okay.
We don't have a local, like our local building ordinance is state building codes. Whereas in land use, we can nuance and have specificity to our codes.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm sorry I'm taking too much of your time. I
It's a
just,
good
it's
question.
very confusing.
It is. It's definitely confusing.
You're
Well,
not the only one.
and that's going to be really important for us to explain when we have the
Yeah,
community meetings, because we probably will have to explain it at every session.
And I'm
Yeah.
happy to do that part, Lori, just to help with that. And also because if you get a follow-up question, everybody's like, we don't know, you know, I'm happy to do that. And I can explain, and maybe part of those presentations would be like a little tutorial, or maybe I could do a diagram that shows the relationship between land use and zoning, the road authority, the fire department, building codes.
Mhm.
Okay, and so
Thank you.
far, let me go ahead and put this up. And I've levels of sheriff, firearms, explosive, sheriff's patrols, and the fireworks all get moved to
I,
aspirations.
I can't
That
see this. Are you sharing the screen?
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, I
don't-
can see it.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Oh, I didn't know I had a choice back and forth. I've just been looking at all of you lately. Okay, I'm back to the shared the screen. Thanks.
Okay, and so that's I've moved these things to aspirations.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, which means we will have some work on that. I need to do some organization, or we can actually make assignments.
Well, I certainly will go through and see if there's other things that might fit and just see, test test drive those past Sarah to see if they might fit here
Okay.
if they don't, if they're, well, I guess a lot of stuff has already been accepted, so it's already there. Maybe I don't want to take it out.
Well, it's
let me,
right, like firearms and explosives.
Right. That's not
That's
land use.
right.
I mean, it could have some bearing on where you could do that, but it still would be a, hmm,
The only thing that land use would regulate would be permitting and siting of a new firearms training facility, which none
right.
of those uses are allowed on properties within your community boundary.
good,
Ah,
good to hear. Uh, so anyway, and probably I don't know, 2 week ready. That's not really a land use either, is it?
What one, Tom?
2 week ready.
week ready.
Yeah.
I think it's
That
interesting that you cannot have a firearm of shooting gallery as a facility in the community because it's not allowed. But if you didn't have a facility and you were just out there firing your gun, that is allowed. Just
Well,
a
maybe. I don't know. It's right? There's other laws that regulate that through the sheriff's office.
check with the sheriff. Unincorporated community, there's no limitation on the use of firearms.
Oh, wow.
Praise
oh,
the
We're
good. Glad
contacting,
to hear
taking that on myself, and contacting the sheriff about that.
See, I
it.
I
Okay.
didn't even know.
Yeah.
So do we know right now what our timeline, our broad vision timeline is for this next going to the community? I missed a meeting and I don't know if that was
Ah,
discussed there.
yeah,
Well,
we talked
we
about,
just stirred things with the stick again.
Oh, well, I
Yep.
think we're still
So
on track for fall, right?
yeah, we're headed for
I don't know.
Okay.
fall.
All right. Thank you.
Goalposts keep moving every time I get at it. So I'm not going to say one way or another. You tell me.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
So I'm
Okay.
not crazy that the goal, I mean, this is a major change of
In
having to
terms
move these
of,
things to the appendix instead of being in the body of the document, just not in the boxes.
It's not a horrible change. What I intend to do is I'll replicate our careabouts in that aspirational sections, and then we'll fill in those things that make sense to go there. So I have a plan for it.
yeah, and I don't think, Nancy, I'm going to go back. I don't think everything has to go in the aspirations, but I'm calling out specifically today public safety where we have placeholders and not that text yet. Those are the things I'm specifically talking about today in reaction to the very organized table Tom put together. Firearms, things that you and I have had continued discussions about that are not in that land use realm.
Right.
Okay.
Do you see a relationship between that and the role of the NCAC?
I think that's to be determined by the commissioners,
Okay.
right? I mean, I don't know, but what they have affirmed twice is that it's not land use. So to me, putting it in this document in the place by policies or making them policies is not where they go.
So it is a relationship to those other discussions then, I think. Okay.
Right. And I apologize for any confusion, but I do feel like I have maintained that this is a land use document during these conversations. So I appreciate Tom actually calling these out in this table because it helps me better understand what those desired topics are so I can help figure out where the best place for them is to go. So going back to Lori's point, it's important to me too that the community feels heard. It's just this document has boundaries and limitations. So where do we put them? Where can we put them?
Okay. Well, thank you for explaining that. And yeah, as you know, we look forward to the ongoing discussions with the commissioners. Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
So parking, is that off limits or not?
Yeah, it's off limits. Well, wait. Support actions. That's not a land use. That goes in that transportation piece, I think.
Definitely affects how people use their homes.
Yeah, I'm on the fence on this one.
Just as long as
I-
you're not on the street. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
That's good. All right,
Fair
let's
enough.
chalk
We
one
walked
up.
right into
Best
that.
one of the day.
Yeah.
But I do think that you can, this is one where I think we can, this policy is written in a way that I think is benign in terms of overstepping our authority in a community plan. It says we're going to support actions to limit on-street parking. We're going to have neighbors working cooperatively to inform each other and move their cars around. I can't speak for beyond the village, but certainly in the village, I haven't run into very many people who hesitate at all to come forward and say, hey neighbor, I got to do this. Could you help me do that? And that's a really
Yeah.
good thing in the times we live in, that we still have actual person to person problem solving on a civilized basis. So I don't think this crosses into the transportation. I don't think it's heavy handed enough to put it into that gray zone of we can't have it in a community plan, because I think it very much speaks to community.
And I've got some wording. So Nancy, just real quick, sorry. After Nancy speaks, I've got some wording to bridge that to the ordinance. So I've been thinking about that.
Okay, go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, thank you. So one thing that would, I'm sure be land use would be any new development should have adequate parking included in that, correct? My sister who lives in Corvallis said that they're having some major larger structures built with no parking, and that mandate's coming from the state, which is causing all sorts of problems. That's not true for Nescoin, right? Or for Tillamook County? We can still have parking required.
So we exercised the off-street parking to the fullest extent in the middle housing code updates. And so I think to bridge policy 28 back to the ordinance. So Tom, I can send this into an email, but I hope it's pretty simple. So starting at the beginning of the policy where it says support. So I would put support actions to promote off-street parking.
Okay, you want to flip it around?
Nope. I would say keep it as it is, to promote off-street parking. And limit on-street parking to one side of the street. So that gets us back to the land use ordinance. And again, what I'm thinking about, to Guy's point earlier, was if there is a conditional use for something like a bed and breakfast, or a conditional use request for some sort of business activity that's permitted conditionally in the commercial zone. This is a policy that we could point back to when we look at their parking plan. Because now what we're saying is we want to make sure parking is within the property boundaries, which is what that means by off-street parking. And if this requires a joint review with Public Works, I can point to this policy in terms of if we are making conditions of approval that the Planning Commission could agree with, to where if there was a need for on-street parking, we could potentially limit it to one side of the street. Public Works and the fire department would have to support that. But this does help me open the door to have that conversation in a conditional use review.
I think that's great. And I think that's very much aligned. We We sweated bullets in that multifamily stuff in making sure that we didn't make an existing traffic problem worse in a skinny
Right.
street, because skinny streets are a core value of at least the village. So I think putting it there so that you can reach to it in a conditional use process is exactly what we want to do.
Thank you. And then with any transportation planning in the future, because one of the things that could come out of that transportation system plan update for Nescoin is to look at shifting parking. We talked about things on the table for one directional, one-way streets, all kinds of things because of the narrow streets, especially in the village. So this can tie back and help inform that work. So that's where I see it connecting those two together through a land use review process if and when needed as well.
And Sarah, if there's a discussion of switching to one-way streets in Nescoin, I presume there's an analysis, and we can certainly reach to it because it exists, that it increases speeding. And part of what slows everyone down right now is they have to slow down to let cars go by. So that's a separate discussion for a separate day, but I'm just
Totally.
bookmarking that because it's
That
Yeah.
would be if and when Public Works comes back to the community with that.
yeah.
And I'm assuming we need some explanatory text going into this.
And I would say, and actually, Tom, just looking at policy 28 again, now that I see it on here, you could put support actions to promote or support actions to prioritize off-street parking. I don't know if you like the word prioritize better.
I don't care. What
Up
do
to you
people think?
guys.
Encourage.
Encourage.
I like,
Yep.
but
I mean, we actually, when we were doing the middle housing discussion, we talked about there being kind of alternate goals of getting the cars off the street, but also not having the whole front yard be cement, or not cement, but asphalt or pavers. Because, and there's definitely I mean, with our small lots, you can't do everything. There's definitely trade-offs. But I think that Lynn's point about the point of this isn't to get cars to go faster on the streets.
Right.
So we want the emergency vehicles to be safe. We all want to have that when we need it. But our point isn't to get the cars to be rushing around.
Nope.
So I'm not quite sure. Not being a transportation expert, I'm not quite sure what the answer is, but I think making sure our goals somewhere in here, that our goals are not to speed up traffic, but to make the whole system safer.
Okay, traffic safety is different than parking.
Yeah. So, but
So
I'm fine with this wording for parking. I'm fine with this wording for parking. Just rambling here.
Okay, are we okay with the parking policy 28?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. And we will need some explanatory text. I'll go back and add those to the laundry list of things to do. Traffic safety. Now, this I'm hearing is not something that should go here. Is that true?
This is the turnoff 101, right?
Yep.
It's an ODOT request and it doesn't seem to be land use
no,
related.
Question for Sarah. If it's in the appendix, is that something that could still be used for grant writing? Or
sure,
does it need to be in the main body?
sure. No, I don't know what Sarah thinks,
No,
but I mean,
I think, sorry, I was muted. No, I think you can still point to it. It's just this main body, again, is what we're using as a reference for specific types of land use applications that warrant review of this as part of the criteria. Right, so conditional uses, Anything that points to the comprehensive plan essentially is also pointing to the community plan.
So,
So I would
Dan,
say, sorry, go ahead, Tom.
uh, go ahead, you say what you're gonna say.
All
'Cause
right.
I was gonna,
I think having it in the appendices notes that it is of community interest. I think it's just going to depend on the grant, like the TLT, like if there's a TLT grant, like Oceanside did for, wayside improvements.
okay, so
That
what
was
I'm
it.
hearing is that traffic safety and fireworks should be moved to the back.
Mhm.
Did
So
I hear that
Tom,
right?
what I would like, so the fireworks and the explosives and firearms, yes. I'm looking at the ODOT piece. And I'm going to try to figure out, like I just did with the parking, if I can keep this one in here. So if I could have a little bit more time on that one,
Yeah.
you want to highlight that for me.
Okay,
But
first of all, let me see if I can at least get the baseline text accepted, and then we'll worry about it
okay,
later.
okay.
So can I accept that? That's the
Yep.
changes, the editorial
Mhm.
changes we made.
Yeah,
Yep.
And now, if we have a Sarah to comment or Sarah to provide input,
right.
Okay, so I'm going to add that to my.
and I've completely lost my place in the action list, so I'm gonna have to recreate it. Okay, fair enough. Okay, fireworks should be moved
Mhm.
to the back. Is that correct?
Yes. Fireworks, firearms, explosives, sheriff patrol.
Yeah.
Looking at your table.
Okay. All right, back up to here. And I'm going to accept that deletion. Okay. What about fire and rescue safety? Or do you want to look at that now?
I'd like to look at that.
Would you like to look at that now or
Well, we have 12 minutes left.
There you go.
And
Squeeze it in here.
or Randall, I don't know if you want to do any public comment. I do have a hard stop at 6 o'clock tonight.
So we talk
Uh,
about scheduling, Rand, this summer for public meetings and stuff.
Yeah, but we could add 10 minutes and do that after Sarah's
I would
gone.
like to be a part of that, Randall,
Oh,
or at least
okay.
have potential dates because you're going to want me there for that,
yeah.
right? Especially to walk everybody through some of the stuff.
So do you have those dates that you're available?
If you guys give me dates, I'll check my calendar.
Okay.
I got it right here in front of me.
the
So
next
I would
meeting?
say, so Tom, why don't
Yeah.
I look at it and I'm going to give you, I'll try to do some text by Friday.
The next scheduled meeting of this group, I will not be in town
Uh-oh.
On the 13th.
on the 13th. I will be in Ellensburg, Washington.
Well, you get, but that doesn't mean you're not on the computer attending a meeting.
That means that I'm carving.
He's not doing this. Well, I'm
Oh, I
not
thought he was
sure if
just
we
talking
do
about
this
his
with,
location.
I kind of don't think we do this without Tom.
Well, I just thought he was doing it from another location.
Yeah,
No,
well,
he's
I'm doing
saying
it.
he's carving that day. So I'd say we probably need to move that. So when do you get back,
I'm
Tom?
out that week, and that's the only week I'm out.
Okay, so that's tell me the dates again, since I'm not looking really at a calendar.
13th, I believe, is the date.
2 weeks from the 29th, yeah. Um, well, I'd say that we should not meet without you. So we'll have to notify Candace and probably move this a week to the 20th. That makes a 3 week. So work to do the week before that, like the
Let me get my calendar up.
6th or 7th or something.
But how much notice do we have to give to the public?
10 days, I think.
Right, that's
Um,
the 6th is next week, Randall.
Yeah, so we don't have it. Okay, well, I guess we have bumped to the 20th here.
So I'm not available from 4 to 6 on the 20th. Um, and I, ugh.
Next week is not going to be enough time for me to work on the document. And the 20th isn't going to work, so I guess we just skip to the 27th.
Oh my.
Is there,
Okay.
could we meet about the community meetings and really like drill those down exactly what we're going to do, how long it's going to take, et cetera, without Tom present? Could
That
that
has
be
that
a
has
meeting?
potential. Yeah,
Yep,
because we're not
that is a good idea.
I
okay.
would
Yeah.
I would recommend that you invite Nancy to join because she has experience in scheduling review sessions.
I
Well,
had
and
Nancy in mind, actually.
yeah, Nancy is on our mind as helping us develop meetings.
Nancy's always welcome. What day would that meeting turn out to be?
Be the
That would be the 13th.
13th.
Yeah.
And
It would be our normally scheduled meeting, just a different agenda.
yeah,
Right.
I think that would be great because things
Okay.
get tougher thereafter, and so that would be great.
Okay. Good call, Lori. So let's stick with the 13th. We'll focus on the upcoming meetings and trying to actually get a schedule. We were thinking, I was thinking about the NCA Labor Day meeting, but I think more it's just an announcement then. I don't think we can cram another meeting into that weekend. We had 90 people at the last NCA meeting, which was great, but if you asked them to come before or after or the day before, I don't know if I don't know if that would work. And but we could make a 10-minute or something presentation at that meeting. And then I think we're looking at doing Zoom meeting and not doing a big public meeting thing because now you're in the fall and you don't have the crowd here. And I think the way that Tom and Nancy ran the bylaws meeting, final edits and analysis was brilliant, and we should kind of follow that model. So what do you guys think about those thoughts?
You expect me to disagree that Nancy and I were brilliant? I'm not making.
Well, I was giving you some bait there to hang yourself, but yeah, you don't have to disagree with that. So if we could get into the gist of that, I think that the meetings will be somewhat of a weeknight meeting. What we want to tell them at the NCA meeting is these will make a difference in the way we get things done. So a lot of it is land use, but there are pieces of this that you said you wanted to do, and we're going to need to organize around that. And so we want you to participate and read this and understand this, so that we can move forward and do some things. So it's like a encouragement to be proactive and engage in the process. And then I think the meetings could be weeknights and, an hour to an hour and a half, so we don't lose them. And it could be not that difficult logistically, and I think we have better participation. So we can work with Tom and Nancy, work with Nancy at that meeting on the 13th.
Yep.
And understand how to organize that and present that. I think that would be very helpful.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And it could be that we have the option of community in front in person. Like for instance, if the golf course was available, we could potentially set up with the committee members there, or those that it was convenient to be there, and let people who are more comfortable in person than on the Zoom meetings come if they want to, because we have the hybrid equipment. And we
Yeah.
could try that for the first for a few meetings and see if anyone actually attended. And if nobody attended, then we could defer to just the Zoom only. But we have the opportunity to experiment a little bit about how much participation that we have and what's effective. Just throwing it out there. I think most people will do Zoom because it's easier to read documents on Zoom than it is in person on the big screen, but you never know.
I would agree with that. I found that most meetings that I'm holding that have a technical review element to it have done better with just a virtual meeting, because then you can put together a presentation as well. And I'm happy to help categorize how you would want to roll out the presentation with organizing the topics in terms of what it is, how it's used, and then the different categories that the plan touches on. And then happy to talk about how they're used in the land use decision-making process, which I think is the most relevant part of the document in terms of it's not just sitting on a shelf.
I
Yeah, that's
support
kind of what
Sarah,
we did with the bylaws is we broke each article or groups of articles into a single meeting and went through each of them kind of separately. And we'd have a meeting on a Wednesday night or a Saturday morning, usually.
Yeah.
Seemed to work out well for people who work. And
Sarah, are you
Oh,
planning to be on all of the meetings or just the initial ones?
Thank you, Lori. Typically, because this is a land use document that comes to me next, I'm at all of them. It helps me prepare to, and then I can help field questions as they come up. So yeah, I'll be there. Which is why being a part of that planning process and the
Right.
dates is really important. Thank you.
Tom?
I was just going to say that I support the virtual only. Having attended the last county commissioners meeting, when technology goes wrong, we would have to stop the meeting and reschedule.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we're in violation of the
Public meeting.
public meeting law, and we should not do that.
It's more risk for sure.
Yeah, it is.
Well, and we might poll people even just at that first introduction. But but that crowd is an older crowd and they may, I don't know how it would go, whether they said, we want to meet in person or we want the Zoom, but most of them are going to be gone. After the 1st of September, it's like, there are not many people here. People tend to pull up stakes and come back occasionally, but anyway.
That's my neighborhood all over.
All right. So
That's what they do now.
So let's take this discussion further on the 13th, and we can get kind of specific and we can start targeting some dates. I don't think that'll be difficult because it'll just be, we won't want to interrupt other NCAC meetings, and there's not a lot on the calendar out there after Labor Day, around town anyway.
Sarah, are you going to be able to be at that meeting for your dates?
On the 13th?
Yes, I have that on my calendar, and
Okay.
then I'll be ready with September is typically my conference month.
So you leave.
So I'm gone a couple of weeks. I can attend an evening meeting, no problem. It's just I've got one Saturday. There's 1 week I am actually out of commission, and it's the last week where the very last days of September and the first days of October overlap. That's the only week that I am just completely out of commission. But other than that, I could do a Saturday meeting or an evening meeting, especially if they're remote, because then I can remote in from anywhere. So most
Yeah.
of my recertification courses are during the day. I just won't physically be here.
Okay. Well, I think evenings are pretty much the target and weekdays are mostly the target. So
Yep.
Yeah.
I
that shouldn't be
agree.
a problem.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, you work 24 hours a day anyway, right, Sarah?
Well, we all do. Tom
Yeah.
especially, he's the one writing all this stuff for us.
3 a.m. That's
I
our
don't
next
remember
meeting.
seeing a leave request for this Maryland gig.
Oh,
That's
okay.
good.
Well, that's helpful to get that sorted out.
Mhm.
So we'll meet on the 13th, 4 to 6, and we'll be kind of tracking down specifics about how we do this, and we'll be listening to Nancy's advice, and then she and Tom can arm wrestle about whether that was accurate or not.
No, I'm not gonna argue it rails with her. No, she's
Oh, you're
Okay.
so funny.
All right. Well, thank you. I would say that's probably that's a wrap then for
Yeah.
tonight, and good progress on that. And I'm glad we established the appendix element and what can, that it can be up front in the document at the end up front, I guess
at the
would
end
be
up
a way
front.
to
Yeah,
say it.
that's right.
And so thank you all.
Thank
Any
you.
further public comments?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
letting me
all.
speak throughout the meeting. You're very nice. Take care.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you all.
Take care.
And we'll see you on the 13th.
But we're ending on time, mostly.
Wow. All right. Well done, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.
You know.